Rafiki shows up, and Simba is sitting by the water, self-reflecting, and there's a little pebble that drops into the pool to attract his attention, and up pops the self. And Rafiki's a trickster. He tells him weird jokes, and he hits him with a stick a bunch of times, thank God, because someone really needs to. He makes some stupid jokes about bananas and kind of entices Simba into following him, right? He lets him know that he has a secret, and he entices Simba into following him. And so Simba's all of a sudden become interested in something. So if you ask yourself what the next developmental stage is, and you really want to know, then all of a sudden you're going to become interested in things that might move you to the next stage. And that'll happen more or less unconsciously. So anyways, Rafiki entices him and then runs away. And Simba follows him. And well, that's where he reveals himself as a sage. And then he tells Simba to follow him, and he goes underground. And this is the initiation scene, right? Which we talked about at the beginning of the class. This is the descent into the underworld. And it's a prerequisite to radical personality transformation. So anyways, he goes through this horrifying underground tunnel system where everything's all tangled up, which is, you'll know if you ever fall into chaos, that everything down there in chaos is tangled up. It's a tangled mess. And there's horrifying music going on in the background, and he goes deeper and deeper until Rafiki says he finds a pool in the middle of the chaos, a deep pool. And that's another symbol of the self. It's the deep unconscious. There's something down there that's alive that can be drawn up to the surface. And so Rafiki shows him the pool, and Simba, who's quite terrified at this point, looks in it, and the first thing he sees is he only sees himself. He only sees his own reflection, and Rafiki says, look deeper. Now you see what the animators do here. It's very cool. So there's Simba, and there's his reflection, but you see that is already half his father, and you look at the difference in the eyebrows and the look. So there's a tightness of jaw and a firmness of face that's starting to manifest itself there, and that means that he's starting to see the man he could be beyond the adolescent. That's a good way of thinking about it. And then all of a sudden, well, that's a whole different face, right? That's a seriously different face. That, everything's going in, and that, it's like, get out of my way, because things are going to happen around me. Very judgmental as well. So it's not naive by any stretch of the imagination. But, we know his father's a good guy, and so there's something archetypal about this. And so he sees the man he could be reflected back to him, and then that actually becomes a cosmic event, and we switch up to the sky instead. And so Mufasa manifests himself basically as a solar deity, and he tells Simba that he's forgotten who he is, which is the son of a king, and that he should remember that and start acting like it. That's an archetypal idea. So if you're just a useless adolescent, then you've forgotten who you are. And the consequence of that is that the state is going to fall apart around you, and you're not going to do anything to fix it, and you're not going to be good for anything, and no one's going to be able to rely on you, and you're going to be all whiny and resentful. And then after that, it even gets worse. And so that's basically what Mufasa tells him. And so Simba is like blown away by this vision, right? Because he sees what he could be and also what he's not, which is pretty damn horrifying. So anyways, the storm, so to speak, clears, and Rafiki comes up, and Simba's a lot more thoughtful and not quite as whiny and resentful anymore, and Rafiki leaves. And so Simba now knows what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to stop being useless and take on the moral requirements of setting the kingdom straight. And so he runs back across the desert. There's all sorts of impressive music happening, and then he comes back to his kingdom, and it's not looking so good. And that's the consequence of his abandonment of it. That's a big part of it. So now it's dead, but also his abandonment of it to nothing but malevolence and chaos. He's pretty taken aback at what's happened, and that he exaggerates his guilt, or it should anyways. And Nella shows up, and they decide they're going to do something about this.